Hi everyone, welcome to our channel. So this is first video on creating a .NET 7 web API with clean architecture and MediatR CQRS pattern. Okay. In this first video, our target is to create the projects that are required to implement the clean architecture. Okay. So this is a diagram on clean architecture. Actually, if we use clean architecture, we need to create 4 projects. One is domain layer, second one is application layer, third one is infrastructure layer, and fourth one is UI layer. Okay, so domain layer is the individual project, means it will not depend upon any other project. Okay, it is like a root, it sits on the top. Next, so domain layer contains like entities. In our case, if you use entity framework or code first approach, we need to create table classes, right? All those plain table classes will go under domain layer. Okay, that is about domain layer. So application layer is like we can write our services or business logics. In general, it contains like business logic files. If you implement CQRS mediator, then CQRS files, okay, and interfaces and any automapper profiles, any validations if you want to apply, those validations can be written in application layer. Next, coming to infrastructure layer, it is like we implement logic like database communication, means creating a DB context or HTTP client calls, third party API calls, or something like sending emails, all related to some kind of job related things goes under infrastructure. And UI layer means any API, MVC, Razor, all this comes under UI layer. Okay. So in general, we know about entire architecture, right? In entire architecture, we usually consume infrastructure layer into application layer. But in clean architecture, it is reverse. Infrastructure layer itself depends upon the application layer. That is the main mechanism of the clean architecture. So what is this inversion helps means it will give more flexibility for testing the code. Okay. So here is the description what I have explained till now. Let's go again. The clean architecture comprises of 4 applications like domain layer, application layer, infrastructure layer, and UI layer. Okay. So clean architecture lives on the dependency inversion principle I just mentioned, right? Infrastructure layer depends upon the application layer, which is a reverse when we compare with our entire architecture or monolithic architecture, any kind of architecture. Okay. In general, business logic depends upon the data access layer or infrastructure layer. But in the clean architecture, it is inverted, which means data access layer can be depends upon the business logic layer. So with this inversion approach, we can use any kind of data access layer. Means you can use a DB context. If you don't want, you can use a repository there. And it can be easily integrated into our business logic. Okay. And now domain layer. The domain layer is a project that will have entities we discussed, right? And domain services, any services that related to entity and any valuation objects. Okay. This project is a parent project and it is independent of all projects. So domain layer can be like a shared one. So it will not depend upon any project. Next, application layer. The application layer is a project that contains business logic files, your DTO files, mappers, validators, etc. And this application depends only on domain layer. Okay. Next, coming to the infrastructure layer. Infrastructure layer project contains database logic or external API calls, email sending or logging techniques. Okay, this project depends upon both the domain layer and application layer. Okay, and next final UI layer. UI layer project means MVC, Razor page, Web API. All these users get response, right? Those projects comes under UI layer. Okay. Actually, this UI layer only consumes the code inside of the application layer. That means it is technically only depends on the application layer. But we reference or we add infrastructure layer also into the UI layer. That is because the DI to use the dependency injection or to register the infrastructure dependency injection, we will import the infrastructure into UI layer. Other than that, we cannot consume any code or logic from the infrastructure layer directly into the UI layer. It should always consume the logical files of the application layer. Okay. Now it is time to create a small sample application that can describe our clean architecture. Okay, here is one point. The .NET 7 application can be created either using Visual Studio 2022 or you can use .NET CLI commands. Here in my case, I am using the .NET CLI commands, okay? But if you have Visual Studio 2022, which is the latest version, please go with that, okay? I have to create a solution file, okay? Here is the CLI command for creating a solution file, okay? .NET space new space CLN and space -n. That means flag represents specify the name of the project. Okay. Next to the -n, we have to specify the project name. Here I specified my project name like .NET 7 clean architecture. So let me create my solution file. Okay. And here you can see solution file got added for me. Okay. Now we have to create 4 projects. In that, 3 are class library and 1 is web API. Okay, first let me create the project based on our clean architecture layer. Okay, okay. First, let's create a class library that represents our domain layer. Okay, here is my command. .NET space new space class library -o represents output directory and name of my project. I named like .NET 7 clean architecture domain. So this class library I am going to use it as my domain layer project. So create it. And here you can see the domain layer project gets created for me. Next, I am going to create one more class library project that represents our application layer. Okay, here is my command .NET space new space class library space -o output directory and name of my project. And name of my project is .NET 7 clean architecture application. Okay, so now I done creating application layer project as well. So next, let me create one more class library project that is infrastructure project. Okay. Okay. As usual, same command for creating a class library, but the project name I have given like .NET 7 clean architecture infrastructure. Okay. Let me create it. Okay. Now I have created 3 class libraries. Okay. Now let me create one more project that is web API. Okay, this is my command to create the web API project that is .NET space new space web API space -o that represents output directory and the name of the application. So finally, if you look at the folder and projects inside of it, it will represent our entire diagram, right? So domain, application, infrastructure, and UI layer. Here also I did same. That means we are successfully separated our project into the separate layers, right? So here now let me add all my projects to the solution file. So since it is a .NET CLA, right, creating the project itself taking long time. If you are using Visual Studio 22, it must be pretty simple. Okay. Now to add all the projects to my solution file, here I want to use single command. For that, I cannot use normal command prompt. So please open the PowerShell. Okay. So you can add a command like .NET space SLN and name of your solution file. So here I forgot extension like SLN. Okay. Solution file and slash add open braces ls space -r and you need to specify star that represents your project folder slash star any names dot csproj. So this is nothing but it's going to add all the projects inside of this folder to this solution file. Okay, let me run the command. Okay, here you can see it is added to the solution file. The message is displaying it clearly. Okay. Okay, now let me open the project inside of the Visual Studio Code Editor. For that, let's open the command prompt and type command like code space dot. That's going to open us our project inside of the command prompt. And finally, our project architecture looks like this if you watch it on the IDE. Now we have to add the references, means which project depends upon which project. Okay, let's start with domain project. Domain is independent, so it is no need to get any project reference. Okay, but if I go for application, application project depends upon the domain layer. Okay, so let me add a reference for it. Okay, for Visual Studio, it is simple right click and add the reference. So here in the CLA, it's going to take big some lengthy commands we have to add here. Okay, my command is if you observe here .NET space add and first I have to specify in which project I need to add a reference. So here I want to add a reference in application layer, application project, right? So I specified its folder and the project path also. Next, reference and then which project reference you want to add. I want to add the domain. So I mentioned its folder and its project name as well. Okay. So reference is added. To confirm it, if you open the CS project of application project, okay, here you can see project reference. Okay. So domain project is referenced into application project. Okay. I want to add references into infrastructure project. So infrastructure projects depends upon our domain and application as well. Okay. So let me add both references. Here, if you observe, I am trying to add the reference of domain into my infrastructure. So let's add it. Okay. If I check the CS project file, here you can see infrastructure got the reference of the domain project. Now, same way in the infrastructure project, let's add application reference as well. Okay. Okay. Here we are trying to add the reference of application project into the infrastructure. Okay. Let's check again the CS project file. And here we can see both domain and application projects got referenced into infrastructure project. Okay, and finally in API project, I mentioned right, API project only depends upon application layer. So let's reference the application layer project into the API project. Okay, here is my command to add the reference of application project into API project. Okay, let's check the CS project file of API project. And here you can see the application project added as a reference. But technically, we use only files of the application file in API project. But we have to reference infrastructure also into API. That is because infrastructure will contain its own DI files, means dependency injection registration file. But ultimately, we have to register it into the main DI, right? That main DI will be exist in our API project. So to register, only to register the DI file, we have to add reference of infrastructure file into API project. Okay. Other than that, never consume the files of infrastructure directly into the API project. Okay. Now infrastructure also I added. This is the command. Okay. Now if I check CS project of API, CS project of API, now it contains both application and infrastructure. So that's all about adding the dependent project references. Now I have to install two important NuGet packages into application layer and the infrastructure layer. Okay. Okay. The first NuGet package I have to install is Microsoft.extensions.dependency injection. So let me copy the command. Okay. And first I want to install that package into the infrastructure project. Okay. So for that, let me go to the infrastructure project path. Okay, now I am in infrastructure project path. I can add the command for installing. Copy the command and install the package. And package is installed. To confirm it, go to infrastructure project. And here is the package reference I just installed. Along with this, we need to install one more package into the infrastructure. That is Microsoft.extensions.configurations. Copy the command, clear the terminal, add the package, install it. Okay, this is also installed. Let's verify it reference. So both the package installed successfully into infrastructure project. Okay, so same both the packages. Now I want to install it into application project. Okay, why I am installing these two packages means I will have some registration files like for DA in future. So I am going to set up a basic platform file for registering the DA in both the projects. Okay. Okay. Now I am in application project path. Here you can observe. Let's install DA package first. Copy the command, add it on the terminal and install the package. Okay, let's cross verify in the CS project file. So here is the dependency injection reference. Now let's inject I configuration package also. Copy the command, open the terminal, clear the terminal, and add the package and install it. And let's check the CS project file. Okay. Now I am successfully installed two packages in application and infrastructure to set up a base platform for dependency injection. Okay. Now get back to infrastructure. Let me create a file like register service.cs services.cs. Okay, here is my class and I want this class must be a static and this class contains a method. This class will contain a method like public static void. I will name the method like configure infrastructure, just giving my project name. Okay, and this is like a extension method for iService collection. Okay, iService collection. Okay, import the namespace of Microsoft.extensions.dependency injection. Okay, and one more parameter. This method I am going to configure like iConfigurations. Okay, it is iConfiguration. Okay, that comes from Microsoft extensions.configuration. Okay, so in this file, we are going to register all our DI services in the future. Okay, now I have to register this DI service into my application layer. Okay, because application layer will be our API UI layer, right? So in the go to the API project, before going to API project, once build the project. Okay, for that, get out from all the project related path, come to the root path. Okay, like this root path and run like .NET build. So that will build all the projects, including 3 class libraries and 1 API project. Okay. And now if I go to my API project, let me close these files. And in the program.cs, here I have to register that register service of our infrastructure project. Okay. So builder.services.configure infrastructure. Okay. So let's import the namespace. Okay, and pass builder.iConfiguration as second path. Okay, so here what we did, we registered the DI file of infrastructure into our API project, and only because of this registration, we added the infrastructure reference into the API project. Other than this, we should not touch any line of code of infrastructure in the web API directly. Okay, that is a note. Now same way, let me create a register services file in application layer as well. Okay. So in the application layer, let me create a class like, okay, here is my register services class in the application layer. So let's make this static. Okay. And let's copy the code since we have already created one platform file, right? Same way here also we need. Okay. So this is a platform file for registering DI services in my application project. Let's import the namespaces. Okay. Now this method I will rename like not infrastructure. It is an application, right? Let's give same project name here. Okay. And here let's import the namespace. Now in the program.cs file, which is in API project. Just like configure infrastructure, we need to register configure application also. Okay, builder.services.configure application. Okay, so builder.configuration, and I have to import the namespace. We are done with registering the basic platform registration files of domain, application layer and infrastructure layer into our UI project. Next, we are going to implement or create the database context class. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this video delivered some useful content to you all. If you like the video, please do support me by subscribing to the channel, and also please don't forget to like and share the video. Soon we are going to meet with new content. Until then, signing off.